Hey guys, Ender here. Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we're going over some optimization settings for Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, obviously newly released. And if you find this video helpful whatsoever, be sure to drop a like, as I did some pretty big testing before this video just to make sure that I got my own game running as well as I could get it to run. And hit the subscribe button. I really do appreciate it. We just hit 33,000 subs. Again, thank you guys so much for that. And comment down below, are you enjoying Modern Warfare 2? Now, obviously, before we change the settings in-game, we have to change the settings outside of the game to make sure they're optimized as well. So this is going to be mainly for Nvidia graphics card users. I'm sure there's something similar for AMD, but I cannot provide that information. Right-click on your desktop and go to Nvidia Control Panel. The first thing you're going to want to do here is essentially go to the upper left, go to Manage 3D Settings. Now, you're going to want to just pause the video, copy these settings. I'll explain some things as I scroll, but just make sure you have these settings copied as I scroll. So low latency mode, some people ask why this is off. You don't actually want low latency mode on unless you are a heavily GPU bound. We're talking like 98% plus GPU usage. Other than that, just have that off. For monitor technology, this is going to say something different for some people. It might say G-Sync. It might say, fixed refresh in my case. It's just down to what you're actually using, so don't really worry about that. You don't have to copy fixed refresh. For your OpenGL rendering GPU, that's just going to say your GPU if you don't have a 3090 like me. Power management mode. Some people are going to want to not set this to prefer maximum performance, but I will warn you guys, a setting within Call of Duty itself will actually force prefer maximum performance, so I just prefer to have it on all the time. I don't have any sort of problems with it whatsoever. You're going to want to make sure your monitor is set to its highest refresh rate possible, and come down here and make sure VSync is off. Now, some other things you can come and do in the display section here, go to your change resolution, make sure your monitor is running at its highest refresh rate. You don't want to be that guy that buys a 240 Hz monitor and is using it on 60 Hz. Now, in the same tab, if you look down, you can go to this, apply the following settings. Just use the NVIDIA color settings for both of your monitors, and you can just, select full output dynamic range, highest 32-bit. If your monitor has 10-bit color, this is where it'll be accessed. Something extra you can also do, come back to the upper left-hand corner here to your video section, click adjust video color settings. Again, this is just some of your monitor stuff. Click use with NVIDIA settings. Go to the advanced tab, make sure your dynamic range is set to 0 to 255 full. Now, X out of that, we're actually going to be going into the config. So go into your file explorer here, pull that up, go to your documents, Call of Duty, players, and find your user ID. This will be different for every single person, so don't freak out. But we're not going in there yet. We are actually going to go into options.3.cod 22.cst. Now, you're going to come in here because we are going to hit a keyboard shortcut called Control F, so hit Control and F at the same time. I'm using Notepad++, so you'll probably want to use that with this, so it just makes it a little easier. If you're not using Notepad++, you just have to scroll and find it. Search the word thread, or just scroll down all the way to the bottom. Renderer worker count. Now, you can mess with this on a personal PC basis. I have a 5950X, so I obviously had 16 cores and 32 threads. This is why you have to set it to your specific amount of, render worker count or whatever you want to call it. You can mess with this as much as you want. For me, it was set to 16 by default, and I've been messing with it. I cannot really get more performance as far as I can tell. I would just, go up or down from what it automatically sets it to. So that's a little something extra you can do. And another little something extra you can do is you can go to a wonderful website called mousesensitivity.com. Now, mousesensitivity.com allows you to essentially really accurately set your sensitivity within the config itself. So when you come in this website, you're just gonna come in here, search up Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, make sure it's the 2022 version here. You're gonna type your DPI in, and you're gonna type your distance per 360 in. Now, in order to get distance per 360 to come up, you're gonna want to come up here to the calculator settings and make sure it's convert from distance. And the reason why you're gonna want to do that is it'll output the exact 360 distance sensitivity And you can move this up or down, obviously. Like, for instance, if you want a slower sense, you can make this, 50 cm. If you want a faster sense, you can make this, I don't know, like 12 cm. And that'll just give you the exact number. You can come in and paste it. Now, where you paste this number is you have to go to your user profile, documents, Call of Duty players, and then user ID. Then it's in your settings, in settings.3.local.cod22.cst. So we're just going to copy this command, which is mouse horizontal sensibility. So again, you're just going to open documents here. You're going to go to Call of Duty. You're going to go to players. You're going to go to your user ID. Then it's right here. Settings 3 local COD22 CST. Again, Control F. You can just, Control F that exact command it gives you. And here's where you set it. Right here, you just copy paste that green number it gives you on the website, and you have your exact precise sensitivity. And of course, remember to file save. Now that we have all that stuff out of the way, we're going to go ahead in-game to try to get some more performance from the in-game settings and just figure out what's going on there. All right, guys, now that we're in game, let's start going over some stuff. Real quick, we're just going to start going into the keyboard and mouse. Make sure that you have this mouse calibration stuff all turned on. Make sure you don't have Excel on, filtering, smoothing, mouse wheel delay is set to 0. You don't want to have any sort of delay deliberately set, and you definitely don't want to have acceleration or mouse smoothing on. In terms of gameplay, this is pretty much all personal preference, so we're mostly going to skip over all of this stuff. In terms of graphics, you're going to want to make sure you're playing on exclusive full screen. Make sure your screen refresh rate is highest possible. Make sure dynamic resolution is turned off. VSync off, aspect ratio. I play on a 16:9 monitor. If you play on like an ultra wide monitor, you'll select 21:9 or 32:9 or whatever it is. Make sure VSync for gameplay and menus is turned off. And for custom frame limit, I like making sure my menus are capped to 60 FPS, but my in-game is, as high as it can possibly go. Come down here. Make sure HDR is turned off. Now, come over here to the quality tab up here. Make sure it is quality custom preset. Make sure your render resolution is actually rendering the game in your, monitor's full resolution. There is a bug currently where sometimes the game will crash and reset this to 33. So if you crash and you come in and your game literally looks like Mario 8-bit, this is the setting you're going to want to look for to fix that. So make sure it is set to 100. Now come down here. This is very important. In the upscaling and sharpening option here, select Fidelity FX CAS and set it to 100. This has actually drastically increased the game's visibility for me. I do find it to help quite a bit. Now, in the same section, you'll find DLSS, AMD FSR, and all this stuff. If you have a weaker computer, weaker GPU, I would highly recommend messing with Nvidia DLSS. You're going to get some beneficial performance out of that. But if you're running anything, in Nvidia 3000, 4090, make sure DLSS is turned off, as you will not get any benefit from it. This game is super CPU and RAM dependent. So just make sure you're using Fidelity CAS set to 100 if your PC can handle it. You can obviously test that on your own. Anti-aliasing, set to SMMA T2X. And just to make this a little quicker, this game looks better generally than Modern Warfare 2019, and the visibility is better, especially with Fidelity FX CAS. That being said, the meta settings for this game, make sure you're running everything on the lowest of lowest possible. The game actually looks completely fine, and you will be getting, obviously, some very important FPS out of this stuff. Now, there are some very important settings you're going to want to make sure that are completely off here. Make sure NVIDIA Reflex Low Latency is on plus boost. Depth of field, make sure that is off. Make sure motion blur and weapon motion blur is off. And make sure film grain is, of course, set to 0. Now, come up here and select View. This is going to be where you set your FOV, but more importantly, I'd argue, this is where your camera movement and camera shake and all that stuff is located. Make sure all of these are selected to least. And these two are personal preference, I guess. Third person, ADS transition, and default spectator camera. This is where you select your FOV. I play max FOV, not for any particular reason. I played 105, this is, again, personal preference. ADS field of view just basically selects, do you want more zoom when you ADS, do you not? You can read the settings on the right here to decide whether or not. is basically, you know, which one do you want? Weapon field of view. This affects your weapon model view. So do you want the weapon to appear closer? Do you want the weapon to appear farther away? Vehicle field of view, again, same thing. Do you want the vehicle in third person to appear closer or farther? Now, come over here in audio. I use the audio headphones mix. I have, you know, DT 1990 Pros. I will say this game's audio is kind of spotty right now. Footsteps are extremely hard to actually hear. They are very inconsistent, at least in my opinion right now. So I would make sure you come down here and select mono audio. If you read on the right, on audio split between left and right audio channels to provide directional sound. This is very important. I find turning this on helps me personally. You can test this yourself, but I would recommend turning that on. You know, voice chat, you can turn that off if you want. And if you want to come in here and actually reduce titanous sound or titanitis or whatever the hell that is, sorry about that to anyone that's afflicted by this, but you can come in here. If you're affected by that, you can turn it on or off. Go to interface. There are some huge settings in here, so let's actually go over those. So if you want to come all the way down here, this is where you set all your minimap stuff. Make sure your minimap is set to square, because as you can see on the example on the right, a square minimap actually shows you more than a circle minimap. Make sure your crosshair is on. Make sure hit marker visuals are in fact on. Damage-based hit markers, you can choose whether or not you want this on or off. Some people turn it off because they feel as though it has better visibility when it's turned off. I find it's completely fine either way. Now, very important setting here. If you want to see any sort of game data here, FPS counter, server latency, you're going to want to come over here to the telemetry tab. And the most important thing in this entire menu is absolutely the center dot. Turn the center dot on. For whatever reason, it's off by default, but this is where you find it. It's an interface on the left-hand menu selection guide. Scroll all the way down, and center dot is here. You can even select how big you want it. That is really going to be it for this, ladies and gentlemen. Let me know in the comment section, did this video help you? If it did, hit the subscribe button, like the video, and I will see you guys later.